Hey everybody, Mr. Morandi here again. I want to show you the scientific method today. The scientific method is the process that scientists use to gather data and draw conclusions. And I want to show you that process as it's usable in life in other places, right? It's not just something you use in your science class in order to write a lab report. It's a way of life. It's a way of thinking about the world. And I'm going to use the example of buying a new car. If you've never been in the situation where you have to buy a car, it's one of the most stressful things you can do in your life. You know you're getting taken advantage of on the price. You know you have a solid chance of buying a lemon, a car that just doesn't work. And you know that eventually it's going to break. And it all adds up to one of the most stressful experiences of your adult life. So if you haven't had the chance to buy one yet, you get to look forward to that in life. But let me show you how I use the scientific method to inform the process of buying a car. So it's time to buy myself a car. It's time to upgrade. I've driven this thing into the ground and it's time to move on. Not my real car, but you get the point. The first thing I need to do is ask them questions. What features are important to me? I'm worried about gas mileage and the cost. Those are the two primary things I'm worried about. But maybe you have other concerns, right? Maybe you have you want to get a car that looks good, or you want a car that's a certain color, or you want a car that is used, or you definitely want a new car, or maybe you really want to get an electric car, or whatever it is you have your reasons. You have to ask those questions. What kind of car is right for me? And then I have all these dealerships that I have to think about, or the possibility of this guy and his used car lot. So I have a lot of questions to ask. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and research those questions, right? What kind of cars are there that fit my needs? What have people said about different cars? Maybe there's a certain car that I really want, but it has terrible reviews. Maybe I should go do that research and find out. And then find some that meet my needs, right? So I have a short list. This right here is the cheapest car in the world, or at least it was when this slideshow was put together. It's a $2,500 car, brand new in India. No radio, no air conditioning, no side mirror. It is a 2-cylinder car, just cheap. One of the rare instances when something's below my budget. But I narrowed it down to some cars that meet my needs, right? This looks good. I wouldn't mind one of those. And this guy over here, I'll take that one. And I guess I'll add the car my wife likes, this Nissan Versa. And you can take a guess as to which one is the one I ended up buying. But you do some test drives, right? You take the cars out, you take them for a spin, and you take notes along the way. I always keep a notebook, and my wife takes meticulous notes in the passenger seat while I'm driving around in the test drive. She writes down everything that happens with the car. This noise we heard, this thing, the VIN number, the year, the model, any kind of things that we want to look at later. So I take lots of notes. And then I take a second look when we get home, right? We finish up our test drives, we go home, we organize the notes, we cross some items off the list, right? These aren't really going to be able to fit car seats, and we find the one that fits our needs. That's right, the one my wife liked. And so we buy this Nissan Versa. Coincidentally, I did buy this Nissan Versa, and the day that it got run over by a moving van was one of the best days of my life. I hated that car. But anyway, we purchased it. And then, since nothing's real until you share it on the internet, we tell the world. Go out on Facebook and tell everyone I just bought a brand new car. So that's the scientific method in action, even if you didn't see it happening. You ask a question. What kind of car do I need? You do some research. You look up different car types. You see what kind of cars are out there. And you read reviews and see what people had to say about them. And then you develop a hypothesis. I think one of these cars is the one that's going to work for me. And then you perform an experiment, in this case, test drives, right? And I give them a good, thorough inspection. And then I analyze the data. I go home and I take my time and I make some lists and I cross things off and I really take a hard look at the data that I gathered. Maybe I really liked one of those cars, but it just didn't live up to my expectations when I sat in it. And then I draw conclusions. That's the car for me. That's the one that's going to solve my problem. And I buy that car. And then I report my findings, and I buy it. I put it on Facebook. Or if I want to be a little more active, maybe I write a review about the car on a website. Or I go and I write a review of the dealer that I bought it at. Or I even refer my friends to that dealer. Any of those ways that I take the stuff I've learned and give it to someone else. Research or science is about building on other people's knowledge so that we don't have to start every problem at ground zero. You might use this method when you buy clothes, right? I'm going to go on a trip. I'm going to need to buy some new clothes for it. Well, where am I going? What kind of clothes am I going to need? I'll look up the climate in the place I'm going. Then I'm going to develop a hypothesis. I think I'm going to need some bathing suits. I'm going to need some Hawaiian shirts, and I'm going to need some sandals and some sunglasses and anything else I'm going to need for this trip to the islands, right? And then I'm going to perform an experiment. I'm going to go down there and I'm going to try some clothes on, and I'm going to see what looks right and what feels good in that climate. And then I'm going to analyze my data, and I'm going to grab those clothes that I want to buy and bring them up to the register, and I'm going to sort through them, and I'm going to say, these are the ones I want to buy. I think the rest of these don't really fit right. And then I'm going to buy those things, and then I'll tell everyone. I'll take pictures on my trip and show them all what I look like in my new clothes. You might use it for anything. My wife uses it to buy trash cans, right? She made an extensive list of trash cans, read their reviews, figured out which one was right, and then bought that trash can. And I have to say, it's the best trash can we've ever owned. It just broke after like 8 years yesterday. I want the same trash can again because we went through so much work to get it. We know it's a solid decision. You can use this on anything. You find something, you research it, you make some kind of conclusion based on your research, and then you share that information with other people. Coincidentally enough, a lot of scientists would tell you that the scientific method doesn't really work in science in a linear fashion, going from asking a question to reporting your findings. A lot of times when you're taught this in school, you see a big circle and how it just keeps on going around and around again, right? But in truth, this is a much more jumbled mess than that. If you are asking a question and you do some research, that research may lead you to more questions, and then you do more research, and then you develop a hypothesis, but then in the process of all that, you realize that your hypothesis is going to be wrong in the beginning because this other research just came out, and so then you have to go back and start over again. If you're an astrophysicist and you study the stars, it's hard to perform an experiment. You're not going to go and perform an experiment. You're going to do mostly research and analyzing the data. You're going to take pictures of the stars and then analyze them and draw conclusions from that. So the scientific method is not so much a concrete instruction manual for science as it is a way to look at the world and make sense of the chaos around us. So the next time we meet, we're going to talk about variables, independent and dependent variables, and what's a control and a constant. And we're going to try to explain how to make an experiment. We're going to focus specifically on that perform an experiment step. So hopefully I'll see you there tomorrow, okay? Have a good day.